seriously, I don't exaggerate. We could not have done the Amazon book ad stuff if it weren't for you. And you do a phenomenal job. You're the best in the business. I tell everybody to go to you. So thank you very, very much for the help that you provide us on that. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nobody else in the business. You're our guy.
Hey, Smart Authors. Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Author Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ryan Deiss, founder of Digital Marketer and the Scalable Company. And today we spoke about his book, Get Scalable, and a lot of the ins and outs of how he actually uses his book to qualify leads and to actually get much more sales with much less effort in terms of outbound, calling, emails, etc. So today we go into the book content a little bit, but more so the overarching marketing strategy for Ryan and how it's been effective for growing his company, the Scalable Company. So you're going to get a lot out of this episode if you are a new-time author looking to launch your book. You're going to get a lot out of this episode if you're an established business owner, primarily someone who does consistent sales and marketing, over $1 million in revenue. There's a lot of really fantastic marketing, lead generation, and sales insights. And there's a ton of awesome resources linked below that we discussed in this episode as well. So hope that you enjoy today's conversation. I certainly did. And I know that you're going to get a ton out of it. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, bud.
So, dude, I have been a big fan for a very long time and have now had the pleasure to have been able to work with you over the past almost 9 months now, which is pretty.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it'd been almost a year. So yeah, seems like we've known each other forever now.
Yeah. So Get Scalable is your book that released in December, start of December. How has that been for you? Because I know the reason why I really wanted to connect with you in the first place, and it was kind of late November. I heard you and Roland talking on an episode, and Roland had just done his book with Jay Abraham. And then you were talking about your plan for Get Scalable and how you wanted to take a long-term approach on marketing the book. Yeah. How has that been? I know it wasn't just let's run a campaign and then it's done.
Right. Yeah, no, it's been good. I mean, this isn't my first book. I've had a couple of other books out, and I remember my first book, I really wanted to have a big book launch like a lot of people do. I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but I had done that. And what I saw from, when I did a big book launch, I think we sold over 30,000 copies in the first 30 days, which that's great. I mean, if I had gone through all the right channels and done all the right things, it probably would have been, hit the New York Times bestseller list, if not been number one. I didn't frankly care about that. I know people who are really strong at that. I never really cared about hitting the New York Times bestseller list because my people aren't looking at that list. They really don't care. So it's sort of just a feather in the cap. And to me, it wasn't worth adding the additional stressor of trying to hit a list and that being a success metric. But I'd always done it in a launch form. Hey, let's have this book just really explode and hit the ground running. So I had done that and it was good, but something kind of struck me leading up to this. And we were talking about book launches. Funny enough, I was having a conversation with Alex Hormozy. His next book was coming out and he was planning this big, massive, audacious launch, which if anybody was alive on the internet, you probably saw his, what was it? $100 million Leads.
Yep.
Was the second one that he did the big thing for. So there were those kind of book launch going. Roland was planning to do a similar launch. And I just thought, the books that had the biggest impact on me and the books that I saw really take hold were not the books that were launched the best. When I think about the books that really began to be own a particular category and get really well known, almost none of them did this big book launch thing. And it's funny because that's what everybody says that you should do. But instead, with all the other books, they kind of started out they were launched a little bit more slowly. The author wrote a book and it was put out there, and they would take that book to a certain audience, a certain pocket, and they would read it and they'd get excited about it. And, it would sort of slowly spread through all these other groups. I mean, I forget how long, but I remember Tim Ferriss saying at one point his book was a pretty old book. I mean, it had been out not for like years, but it had been out for almost a year, for 6 months before it hit the bestseller list.
Mm.
And the same can be said for a lot of other, certainly nonfiction, business related books. They were out there in the world before they quote unquote got big. And so
Mm.
I thought, what if instead of doing a book launch strategy, what if I plan on launching this book for the next 12 months? What if I take 12 months to launch this book? And there were a couple things I liked about it. Number one, it took the pressure of a book launch off.
Yeah.
I didn't have to stress about that. And there's a lot of benefits to that, by the way. You do a big book launch. I mean, you got to make sure that you print a bunch of copies of the book. I mean, there's a lot that goes into a launch, an enormous amount of work, but also you create this big surge. And if you're not prepared to receive the benefit of that big surge of new readers and buyers and particular clients, what's the point? And for us, at the Scalable company, we can really only help about 20 to 30 new clients a month. Like, that's our capacity. So going out there and selling 30,000 books in 1 month, well, yippee skippy, like that's, yeah, I sold a bunch of books, but I'm not going to be able to monetize that attention. So for that reason, but also I know that a lot of these books that had the big launch, they would burn bright and then fizzle out. And I didn't want that to happen. Instead, I really wanted it to have the opportunity to grow and just be somebody's dirty little secret. I wanted it to be a book that you felt like, in sharing it with somebody else, you were sharing a secret with them,
Yeah.
for a little bit. There was a time, I remember, going back to Tim Ferriss, when, if you told somebody about the 4-Hour Work Week, they were like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, I haven't heard about it. Fast forward a couple of years and you tell people like, yeah, idiot, I've heard it, I've read it. So you get that benefit of I think the right people finding it at the right time and it being able to spread somewhat organically if you say, I'm going to launch this book for a year. And so that's what we did. I mean, we launched it internally to our list. We had, sold, I want to say 12,000 copies in the first, couple of weeks, which is great. And after that, my goal has just been, how do we sell a consistent number of books, 500 to 1,000 a month? And really my goal from the beginning was to give away 10,000 copies of the book. I just wanted to get 10,000 copies of that book in the right hand, because I don't need everybody in the world to read it. I just need our ideal person to read it.
So I remember also Roland saying that he had a strategy for like just sending people Amazon author copies and just like having a marketing budget for that side of things. Have you kind of implemented the same thing when you're considering about giving people books, or what's your strategy there?
I haven't done that. When I say give away books, I mean, we basically make the book free. I mean, if you go to getscalable.com/free, it's a free book offer. Now we ask you to pay shipping, but it's literally just the price of shipping.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very big on that, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's a free book offer. And then they basically, the book is free, but pay $20 for shipping and handling. It's like, give me a freaking break. Like, what does it actually cost to ship the book? Like, I looked at what is the average cost to ship the book domestically. And I think it's like $620 or something like that. So not charging for packaging. We're eating the printing of the book, right? No, like, not trying to make any money off of it there. So that's really the strategy, is to get hundreds of people a week, just sort of organically, and then through our marketing efforts to try to bump that up, and through podcasts like these. I mean, I've done way more podcasts this year than I've probably done in the history of like my entire business and marketing career, because I want to be on the podcasts that have the right people who are going to find value in the book. I don't need everybody to read. I just need the right people to read it.
Yeah. And I love that. And so going to your goal, hundreds per month out there, like we're pretty much crushing, or a week, sorry. We're pretty much crushing like 50 books on Amazon ads a week kind of thing. And I'm sure, like, just based on conversations with Matt on your team, the book funnel side of things has been pumping along. Can you give some more insights to like how that's been operating for you?
It's almost 50-50. So, and you would know this better than I would, because you're the one who we partnered with to handle all of our like Amazon, the Amazon side of the game. So thank you, and great job on that. And that's been amazing. Like, Amazon ads and that medium as a whole, I've been telling everybody, is just one of the most underrated ad platforms out there. And you were the one that turned us onto it. You were the one that taught it. And then you're like, you want me just to do it for you? And we're like, yes, we do. And so thank you. So that's thing number one. Our team knew Facebook. We know Facebook and, Meta and that platform really, really well. But I want to say Matt could confirm this better. I think it's about 50-50. So there might be a little bit more on Meta just because there's more spend and more volume and more people there. But, you said we're doing about 50 a week right now direct through Amazon. So call it 200, 250 a month. I want to say we're producing between 300 and 400, on Meta. And so if we do that and then just general organically, we don't know where the heck they came from. That's kind of how we're getting to that volume that I talked about in terms of getting to 1,000. On Amazon, we're not giving away the book because on Amazon's going to charge them. So I don't count that towards the 10,000 that I'm giving away, but people are still getting the book. And so that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just like, even if the book is free here and on Amazon, it's like you're still going to have a percentage of people who are like, I'll just get it on Amazon because it's like more convenient.
I would.
I've got my details.
Yeah, I would. I see free book funnels all the time, and I'm like, come on. I know what's going on here. I'll just go to Amazon and I'll buy the dang thing. So I get it. It doesn't hurt my feelings, at all.
You pretty much invented the free book funnel. Like, let's be real.
I don't know that I invented it, but I was definitely pretty early onto that train before a lot of people were doing it. Yeah, that is for sure. Free book funnels and I go back to 2009. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude.
So I'm going to take some pretty early credit for that.
So one of the cool things from my perspective is, and we were speaking about this before, is previously you guys were running multiple different funnels to kind of have leads come into the pipeline of Scalable, and you mentioned that you're pretty much like working towards replacing most things with just like having a book as the front end because of the lead quality just being tremendously higher.
Well, so the front end typically for any funnel, we do run campaigns straight to the book. Right. Mm-hmm. So we have those campaigns, and I don't remember what percentage of our ad budget is between the work that you're doing on Amazon and the dedicated ads that we have going straight to the book landing pages. But I bet it's probably 15 to 20% of our ad budget. So it's not insignificant, but it's not the majority. And that's because we can still generate a lot more overall leads by going straight to a targeted, lead magnet, and almost always it's a tool. So at the Scalable company, what we do and what the book is all about is helping business owners build and install operating systems so that their business can run without them, right? That is the basic pitch. And what an operating system is for us is it is 6 very specific tools. So when you have these 6 tools, those tools combine to form an operating system. What we simply did is we took one of those tools, the CEO scorecard template, and we plucked that out. And now we make that available as a lead magnet. It's just a classic Splinter lead magnet, nothing particularly new or innovative there. But what we used to do is we used to say people would opt in for the lead magnet. And then if they filled out some information and if they were qualified, so for us, that's a business doing north of $1 million a year in revenue, talking to an owner, there's, depending on the qualification criteria, there might be some other things, but that's it. If they were qualified, then we were going to send them straight to, hey, let's book a meeting to talk. Mm-hmm. So we get a lead. If they're qualified, let's book a meeting, let's talk, right? If they weren't qualified, then we were sending them down a path where we were saying, here's some products that you could buy, that, a course or something like that might serve you well. Because we knew that in general, unless somebody's doing $1 million a year, or more in revenue, they're not yet ready for our services side, of the business. So that was our standard funnel. But we discovered 2 things. The first thing that we discovered is that even if somebody is qualified, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready to buy now, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody could be qualified, but it's still pretty early in the journey. So to be like, hey, you're qualified, want to give us $18,000? You don't really know us yet. Funny enough, that worked 18 months ago. Okay. 18 to 24 months ago. That worked pretty well. When everything in the economy is up to the right, when interest rates are at 0, when the government's giving away free money, people were ready to move a lot faster through a sales process. More recently, it was just working less and less well, to the point where it's like, this doesn't work at all.
Mm.
So we made a couple of changes. But one of the changes that we made was for anybody who wasn't immediately qualified, instead of offering them courses, we offered them the book. And we found that that was just such a way better value for them, much higher conversion rates, because I just think a lot of people would rather buy a book, especially in the business space, than a course, especially like post 2020 when everybody and their dog was putting out courses. I do think that the market is very kind of sick and tired of courses right now. So you say, here's a book, like it's a real live book and everything. You can buy it on Amazon. Funny enough, though, once people bought the book, we were able to say, hey, there's some other courses that you could get that would supplement the book. Do you want those? Yep, we'll take those. And then we'd say, like, if you want the resources that come in the book, fill that out. And then we'd ask people again at that point, hey, do you want help installing the operating system? And a lot of those folks would still book a call with us, and that was effective. So we found that by sending more people towards the book instead of to courses, conversions were much higher and netted out making more money and getting a much higher quality buyer from that.
Mm. And so over time, have you seen people who have bought the book through the funnel and stuff? They said no back then, but have come back around, just going like, "Hey, I've read the book now. Like, how can I work with you guys?"
Oh yeah, I mean our sales reps salivate anytime there's a meeting booked and the lead source is BookFunnel, or if one of our sales development reps who did the initial discovery calls, like they'll put kind of direct quotes from the folks that were brought up during the call, just so the sales rep has some context. And this is all posted. We have a Slack channel that's called Meetings Booked, and so I get to see it too. And so it's shocking how many of the meetings getting booked now are, read Ryan's book and want help doing what was talked about in that book. Like our sales reps know, like that's going to close at about 150%, right? It just only all like those people that I'm hyperbolizing, but that has an incredibly high close rate because the book sold them on the solution category.
Yeah.
Like if they bought the book, if they read the book, they have bought into our particular operating system methodology as the solution. And if they're wanting to talk to us, it's because they don't want to try to DIY it. They read the book, they go, this is important, this is really, really good. I've been given all the tools to do it myself. I just don't want to. So help me out. Those are the highest converting leads that we have.
Yeah. And I think it's cool because I like either, obviously they're bought in, but then they're like self-identifying where they're at, in the 7 levels and, all the different things. They're probably going, yep, I've got the founder's curse and like all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so it's, the actual content in the solution inside the book is beneficial, but then they're also like, hey, I'm actually at this point and this is why I need your help. And so they're like bought in so much more as well.
That's exactly right. And in the book, I talk about things not to do, mistakes made, and people like, oh yeah, I've tried this and this and this, like, Ryan, and he's right, it didn't work. So you give them, I think the power of books is you don't just give people a plan to get from whatever less desirable state they're in to a more desirable state. You don't just give them a plan, and you don't just give them hope. You give them words and phrases to describe their own pain. And there's so much value to that because it sucks when, it's like going to the doctor and, your arm hurts, but you're not sure why it hurts. And it's even hard to describe how it hurts because it's not like a sharp pain. It's more of a dull, nagging pain. Or I don't know if you've ever had an issue with your car where it like is making a noise, but then you take it into the mechanic and all of a sudden the noise magically disappears, right? And they're like, well, we can't find the problem, right? It's so frustrating. And so not being able to diagnose a problem, to give it a name, to give it a phrase, it is stifling. It is daunting. And what books do, if somebody actually takes the time, to read or listen to it, is it gives them those words. And when we hear people parroting the words that we've given them, talking to our sales team, we know that they're in. I will tell you one of the biggest mistakes that I made. I mean, this mistake probably cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I know many, many thousands of leads. I took way too long to get the audiobook out. The book had been out 6 months, and I just hadn't gotten around to recording the audiobook. I mean, like I was dead set on doing it myself, and I just didn't. like the holidays happened. The book was basically done at the end of 2023. We wanted to launch it in January, which in a lot of ways is a terrible time to launch a book because guess what? Everybody's wanting to launch a freaking book in January. But there you go. And I was like, yeah, no, I'll definitely get to that audiobook soon. Well, I didn't get to the audiobook, record and finish recording the audiobook until April. And then it had
Wow.
to be edited. And so that book wasn't like out and kind of in the market until end of May, first part of June.
Mm.
Like that's a lot of wasted time. And again, the book started being sold the December before. When we put the audiobook out there, I mean, we're just getting a lot more sales of books. I'm truly shocked. I bet right now it's almost 1-for-1. We're selling one audiobook for every non-audiobook. So combination between, hardcover, softcover, and Kindle, but the audiobook just about doubled our sales.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, especially considering your target audience. It's like
Right.
business professionals. It's like typically, I'll just say that, like for me, I'll listen to a book, and then if I like it, I'll get the physical. And I think so
Same.
much of it, we're just on the move so much. Like I can listen at the gym, can listen while driving. It's just yeah.
Same. I'll buy the audio if I kind of like it, then I'll instantly buy a physical copy in the Kindle because I just want to have options. So
Yeah.
if I even halfway like a book, I'm buying 3 copies of it.
Mm.
And that's great because now you're kind of everywhere. So
About 6 weeks ago, I actually made a kind of summary and lessons video on one of your episodes with Roland, and you guys were talking about the way that you kind of call and follow up with leads that come through your pipelines. And one of the things that you mentioned was that when you guys were just like hammering the phone sales and calling leads as soon as they came in and just like trying to be on top of it, you had this exorbitant amount of leads that came through, and then only a very, very small percentage of people were like interested and bought. And one of the switches that you said you made was you implemented a kind of value piece that came in between the phone sales, and only then when they had gotten that, opted into that, your team would essentially call them. Can you go into like that whole process generally from your perspective, and what the kind of difference in results were for you?
yeah, sure. Because going back to what I said before, if a lead comes through and the lead is qualified from a revenue standpoint,
Hmm.
so it's a company that's at a stage where we know that we can help them. And incidentally, for us, we can't help businesses that are too small, but we're also not a great fit for businesses that are too big. So we've had people come through that they're running, 100, 200, $300 million companies. Like they're probably beyond what we can service. So for us, it's like a $2 to $50 million range is really our sweet spot for who we can serve. So if they're in that range, then we want to be able to find out, okay, is this, they're qualified, but are they yet ready to buy from us? And that's what I'm saying before. A lot of these leads are qualified, and we'd always heard speed to lead, speed to lead, speed to lead. Like when you get a lead in, if they're qualified, you want to hit them hard and hit them fast, like do all the call, get them on the phone and all this other stuff. And look, it's one of those things that is right more than it's wrong. And so it just gets treated as fact, but it's not fact. The fact is, our data has shown us, and I learned this from Dean Jackson probably 15 years ago, but our data has shown us that at any given time, only about 3 to 6% of the people of the leads on your list are ready to buy now. About 3 to 6%. Now, the largest chunk will buy at some point later. There are some people on the list who will never buy. Like, why are they there? We don't know, and they don't know either. But it's a relatively small list. In general, if somebody is on your list, there's a good chance that they will buy something from you at some point, but at any given time, only about 3 to 6% are in market right now. So the great game of marketing, in my opinion, is not lead generation. It's how do you get those 3 to 6% to raise their hand and acknowledge themselves so that we can make an offer to them at that right time. Because what we found is that if we make offers too soon, not only do we not get the sale, but we can burn out those leads. And I think a lot of people don't realize this. They think, oh, well, it doesn't hurt to ask. It kind of does.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, I mean, if you're out like dating and you're trying to pick somebody up at the bar and you just walk up to him and you're like, hey, what's up? Want to go back to my place? Like, first thing that you say, if you get slapped, you can't come back and be like, oh, just kidding. Like, can I buy you a drink? Like, there's no
Yeah.
coming back from that, right? Like, you're the freaking weirdo. Like, you're the pervy weirdo that nobody wants to deal with anymore. So I think a lot of marketers have gotten themselves in that trap. And I think we got in that trap because, again, we had a bull run, the likes of which anybody under the age of 30-ish, 35 they've never seen the other side of it. Like, I remember the global financial crisis of 2008, 2009. I remember that recession. There's a whole lot of people in business today who have never done business in a recessionary type environment. So all they've ever seen is money's free, stock markets only go up and to the right, and in general, go nuts. In that time, you can get away with asking for more and you can get away with asking for it earlier. Where we are right now, you just can't. And so what we found is if somebody was qualified, there were things that we could do to get them to indicate readiness. Where if they said, hey, yeah, I'm ready, let's talk, cool, we'll pluck them out. If they weren't, though, the worst thing in the world that we could do is to ask them to buy now. Ask them to get on a call now. Because if we ask them now and they say no, they're probably not going to say yes later. So what we decided to do is let's slow it down and let's create what we call just a piece of pillar content. And the pillar content for me, it's a 120-minute video. Like, this is not a short video. And it's combined with, I think, like a 50 or 60 page report that is, wait for it, basically just a summary of the book. Right? I mean, I essentially took the book, and anybody who's written a book can do this. I took the book and I created a webinar version of the book where I basically gave an overview of it. That webinar, more or less, is the video. And then the transcript, heavily edited so that it doesn't read like a transcript with images and stuff like that, is the report. So what I said was, hey, welcome. If you're interested in getting some help building out your operating system, we can do that here. If you have no idea what an operating system is, here's a video you can go watch. Your next step would be to go and watch this video. It is, the next step in building out an operating system, of which this tool that you just got is a part of it. Because remember, I said what we're giving away is the CEO scorecard. That's a part of the operating system. So we just tell them that this tool you have is great, but it's just one part of a comprehensive 6-part operating system. If you want to see what the other 6 parts are like, go ahead and watch this video. And if you want our help building it, we can talk about that here.
Yeah.
When we added that piece of pillar content, that made all the difference in the world. Our phone sales conversion rate more than doubled.
Wow.
After we implemented that. Now, the sales motion slowed down, but it really only slows down for a couple of weeks. And then it's just the people who are ready now, they're ready. And so if you're willing to endure the slowness for a bit, now all of a sudden you just get the benefit from it. But yeah, I mean, the month before we implemented this, I'm trying to remember the numbers, but I believe my sales team made 27,000 outbound dials. I don't know how many outbound emails and stuff like that they sent, but 27,000 outbound dials. Now, these were all to people who had opted in. This wasn't like cold type stuff. So they'd opted in the list, they'd given us permission, all that, those other things. But 27,000 outbound dials to produce, I want to say, about 180 opportunities, like sales opportunities, to only then close, it was like 14 or 15. So closed at less than a 10%. That's a lot of work. Now, these are $30,000, $40,000 sales, average ticket sales. So it's fine. But the next month, I believe we only made 7,000 outbound dials and converted twice as many sales. So that is the power of a well-nurtured lead. So I think marketing today is about 2 things. It's about moving faster and it's about moving slower. And they sound like they contradict one another, but in reality, you have to do both. The people that are ready now, identify who they are, and don't force them through some long convoluted funnel or nurture sequence. Just move them right to the, hey, let's talk, right to the end of the line, right to the core offer. The people that aren't yet ready, give it time. You got to let the cake bake. Move more slowly.
Yeah. So the whole ascension model essentially is like, people will kind of buy if they're ready to buy. And if they're not, you just got to give them time, show value, give them kind of next steps and just allow for themselves to kind of become ready.
Yeah, I taught for years and years and years, and it was true when I taught it. I don't believe it's true today. That the way that you nurture a lead is you get them into something for free. Then you sell them a lower ticket item, a low dollar item. Then you sell them a slightly higher dollar item. Then you sell them a slightly higher dollar item, and up and up and up in this value ladder type model where it essentially resembles a stair step. In reality, you get somebody in for free. You find out, are they qualified? You then find out, are they of the 3 to 6% that are ready now? If yes, jump straight to the top of the ladder. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not have to buy anything else. Let's get married, right? Yeah. If they're not, nurture, 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 nurture. And along the way, some of the nurturing could be purchasing some other, products and lower ticket things. That's fine. I'm not saying it doesn't have a role in it, but it really is just about figuring out when is that moment when they're going to indicate readiness. There's a lot of ways they can do that. And so, but we want to put out these little feelers to figure out when are they ready, and when they are, cool. Let's talk. Let's move you all the way to the end.
Yeah. And it just, to me, that sounds like such a smart way to do it. And it's, it's based on metrics and data, right? Like, and what people do and how they act today instead of I think the problem with the value ladder, the ascension model is like, it's just being taught like it's the only way to do business and that you need to go through those motions. But even like one of my friends and mentors, James Schramko, which I believe he's the same. He's just like, different buyers are going to buy differently. Like you shouldn't just try to ascend someone for the sake of it. It's just like they'll buy the premium thing if they want to buy the premium thing.
That's exactly right. And I think look, the sales process used to be a lot more linear. When we didn't have this pesky thing called the internet and YouTube, where people could go and do a lot of their own research and do a lot of their own reading and get nurtured themselves, then you really had no choice. I mean, the only option was we're going to get a lead, and then we're going to have conversations with that lead, and that lead is going to be nurtured through one channel and one channel only, and that is a conversation with a salesperson, or with some type of automated, follow-up kind of thing. If it's more consumer, where we can essentially, mirror that, but it's going to be that stair step approach. But when people have the ability to swirl all around the internet, do all their own research, evaluate, when you're doing what we're doing and posting a lot of your best stuff just totally ungated on YouTube, they're figuring a lot of things out. And so very often people come to you day one and they've been researching you and following you around for months, and you have no idea who they are because they were never on your list. They bought the book through Amazon. They've been following on YouTube, but they never bothered to subscribe to your newsletter because who gives a crap about that? Maybe they were listening to your podcast, but you had no clue about that, right? You don't know who these folks are. And then one day they show up at your doorstep and they are ready now. And if you force them through a funnel, they're like, what the heck is all of this? Like, just give me the goods. So.
Oh, dude, how true. Well, Ryan, it's been fantastic having you on the show today. Where can people find Get Scalable?
Well, as we pointed out, it is at Amazon. So if you go to the Amazon of your choice in the country of your choice, and just type in Get Scalable, you should be able to find it there. But if you do want it for free, certainly if you're in the States, I believe it's a bit more expensive. Maybe we can't ship overseas. I don't remember how it works. But if you do go to getscalable.com/free, that's where you can get the book for free. And Scalable it's only got the one E at the end. So just so you know, because a lot of people misspell it, SCALABLE. So just wanted to point that out. And I'll tell you, I mentioned it before, but I've been posting a lot of content on YouTube. And this is fairly new for me. I was not a YouTuber. I didn't like doing a lot of posting on YouTube. But that pillar content, that 120-minute long video, that is, if you just go to my channel, Ryan Deiss Official, that's the featured video on my channel. If you don't want to buy the book, read the book, or do anything, watch that video.
Okay.
Watch it at double speed, good luck, or maybe 1.5, because I do tend to talk a little bit faster. That'll give you like 80-90% of what's in the book. And so I'd love for you to buy the book, but if you're kind of operating system curious, that's the place to go.
Cool. Love it. And I'll make sure that that's all linked down below for everyone here. Dude, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And thank you. Seriously, I don't exaggerate. We could not have done the Amazon book ad stuff if it weren't for you. And you do a phenomenal job. You're the best in the business. I tell everybody to go to you. So thank you very, very much for the help that you provide us on that. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nobody else in the business. You're our guy.
Thanks for that, dude. Damn, what an awesome episode. If you've got a book that you're advertising or not yet advertising, and you want some book marketing advice directly from me, I'd love to set up a book marketing review with you. It's basically a 30-minute consulting session that you can get for free, worth $1,000, where we can basically dive right into everything that you're currently doing or not doing, and everything that you could do to sell as many books as possible according to your goals. So if you want to sell 100 books a month, 1,000 books a month, or anything in between, we can really help you outline a strategy to help you get there. To book your session with me, just click the link in the description below, smartauthormedia.com/chat, and you'll be able to book a time that suits you to go through everything with me so that we can help you sell some more books starting today. Look forward to speaking to you on the call.